Okay, Shalom Israel. Sorry about the technical difficulties. This is ISB HBK, Israelite School of Biblical History and Practical Knowledge. We're located at 8524 South Braidwood Boulevard, Houston, Texas, 77071. We have class times from Monday and Wednesday from 7 to 10 p.m., Friday from 6 to 9 p.m., and Saturday, Sabbath class from 10 to 2 p.m. We also have Sunday kids class from 11 to 12 p.m. Here in the San Antonio area, we have a school located at 4219 Centergate Street, San Antonio, Texas, 78217. If you're in the Albuquerque, New Mexico area, we have a school located at 501 Copper Ave, Northwest Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87102. If you have any questions, you can contact Priest Kazakia at 321-960-8411. You can contact Priest Ahalon at 832-941-2443. You can contact my phone, 303-557-8979. You can email us at hiddentruth12@gmail.com. If you have any donations, we have a Wells Fargo account, and we'll put the Wells Fargo account number in the YouTube comments. That's for monetary donations. If you have any other donations like canned goods, cars, clothes, pens, pencils, anything that's going to help us to further the truth and reach our people, you can contact us at hiddentruth12@gmail.com. As far as announcements, we have Hanukkah coming up. It's coming up quick. That's December 24th to January 1st. So if you want to participate in Hanukkah, definitely reach out to us. We'd love to have you. You know, we got to do like the scriptures say, gather together. You know, we got to endeavor to keep the unity. So that's what we do. We gather. We celebrate the feast days amongst one another. We don't just hide and, you know, go on vacation. We make sure that we gather with our brothers, with our sisters. So if you'd like to join, feel free to hit us up. If you'd like a garment made, hit us up. The sisters, they make the garments, they make headbands, armbands. You know, they do it all. If you want a garment for Passover, hit us up. Hit us up early. Passover is in about 4 months. It's gonna come quick. So if you want a garment made, hit us up so the sisters can get on that. Because when Passover, when that time comes, the sisters get super, super busy. So if you want a garment for Passover, if you want to join us for Passover, hit us up. Let's see. Yeah, right now, just so you know, we're broadcasting live on our old YouTube page, which is the Israelite School of Biblical History and Practical Knowledge. Okay, so we're broadcasting live from there. Today is Sabbath service, so we don't broadcast the prayers online. If you want that, you got to come to class. All right, partake in that. Partake in the morning prayers for Sabbath. So what we're going to do now, if there's no other announcements, we're just going to go right into the reading. If y'all have any questions, feel free to ask. You know, we always take the questions. I'm going to hold like the off the top questions for after class, but if you have any questions during, feel free to ask. All right, so we're just going to go right into it. Let's see. Yeah, we're just going to go right into it. So where are we starting?
We're starting at Genesis chapter 28, verse 10.
All right. So, Genesis 28, 10. You can kick it off.
Genesis chapter 28, verse 10. And Jacob went out from Beersheba and went toward Haran. And he lighted upon a certain place, and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place and put them for his pillows, and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascended and descended on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it, and said, I am the Lord, power of Abraham thy father, and the power of Isaac. the land whereon thou livest, the land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed, and thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and thou shalt spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north, and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places, whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken of thee of. And Jacob walked out of his sleep. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and he said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid, and said, How dreadful is this place! This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob rose up early in the morning, and took a stone that he had put for his pillows, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel. But the name of that city was called Luz at the first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God will be with me, and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat, and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house. And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give a tenth unto thee. Then Jacob went on his journey, and came into the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they gathered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. And thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Jacob said unto them, My brethren, whence be ye? And they said, Of Haran are we. And he said unto them, Know ye Laban the son of Nahar? And they said, We know him. And he said unto them, Is he well? And they said, He is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep. And he said, Lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And they said, We cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth. Then we water the sheep. And while he had spake with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel the daughter of Laban his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban his mother's brother, that Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice, and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. And it came to pass, when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob, his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, Surely thou art bone of my bone. Surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, Because thou art my brother, shouldest thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. And Jacob loved Rachel, and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel thy younger daughter. And Laban said, It is better that I give her to thee, than that I should give her to another man. Abide with me. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days, for the love he had to her. And Jacob said unto Laban, Give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place, and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening And he took Leah his daughter and brought her to him. And he went in unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah his maid for an handmaid. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah.
So if you keeping up with the story, you see that Jacob, he was working to marry Rachel. You see that? And so Laban was like, yeah, I'll give you Rachel. You gotta work for me for 7 years. And so, Jacob was in love. He was like, yeah, I'll do it. I want her. This is what I want. But then, Laban, instead of keeping his word and giving Rachel to Jacob, he ends up giving him Leah. You see that? So he didn't keep his vow, he didn't keep his word. So that's where we're at in the story. But you got to check out what happened next. Go ahead and read on.
Genesis chapter 29, verse 25, from the top. And it came to pass in the morning, behold, it was Leah. And he said to Laban, what is this that thou hast done unto me? Did not I serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me?
Yeah, he said, why are you tricking me, man? I did my 7 years for this woman. I did my 7 years faithfully. Why did you beguile me? Why did you trick me? You see that? Go ahead.
And Laban said, it must not be so done in our country to give the younger before the firstborn.
Yeah, he was going off the custom. He was saying, listen, we can't give the younger before the firstborn. We can't go against our custom. This is how we do it in our land. So instead of being honest with him, he kind of played him a little bit. He kind of tricked him a little bit. Instead of just being honest, like, hey, this is our custom. What's that?
So Rachel was the oldest? Rachel was the firstborn, and Leah was the younger one, right?
In verse 16,
yeah,
it says, and Laban had 2 daughters.
Right.
The name of the elder was Leah.
Right.
Okay.
And the name of the younger was Rachel.
So Rachel was younger, but the custom was you couldn't give the younger first. The older had to come. It's no different from an inheritance or an heir to the throne.
Got it.
Right? The heir to the throne always goes to the firstborn.
Okay.
And then it goes down the line. So this was the custom of the land. That's what he was saying. We couldn't go against the custom of the land. You see that? So go ahead and read on.
Verse 27. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years.
So he was basically saying, listen, give me 7 more years of your life and then you'll get Rachel.
It's crazy.
You see that? So basically he worked 14 years to get a woman. Rachel must have been bad. She must have been. What's that?
But then he had to take Leah too because
Yeah, he
he
laid with her.
married her. Okay.
Yeah. But he was basically saying, but then LeBron came back and said, listen, if you want Rachel, work 7 more years. You see that? So Rachel must have been, woo! She must have been top notch. I mean, think about it. All he knew was like how she looked, things like that. Obviously, he probably had a gauge on her personality. He worked with the family. So he must have been in love. You see that?
I think he loved Leah too, because he didn't trip. He was like, okay.
Yeah, he didn't. Yeah, that's the thing. He didn't trip. He was just like, okay,
So both.
got my cake and eat it too.
Yeah.
Kind of. Go ahead and read on.
Double reward.
Yeah.
Verse 28. And Jacob did so and fulfilled her week, and he gave him Rachel his daughter to wife also. And Laban gave to Rachel his daughter Bilhah, his handmaid, to be her handmaid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah.
So he did love Leah, but he loved Rachel more.
Yeah.
See that? Because that was what his eye was on from the beginning. You see that? So yeah, he loved them both. Go ahead.
And served with him yet 7 other years.
So he worked his 14 years to get Rachel. You see that? Jacob was a just man. He He stuck to his vow. He didn't beef, he didn't quarrel. He just said, man, okay, you tricked me. I know what I want. I'm going to just work for it. Go ahead.
And when the Lord, verse 31, and when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, and Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bare a son. And she called his name Reuben, for she said, surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and said, because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me the son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again, and bare a son, and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And she conceived again, and bare a son. And she said, now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah, and left Mary.
So you see that? It's basically giving you the start of the 12 tribes. This is the start, the beginning of Jacob's 12 sons. So Leah gave him, what is that? Reuben, Simeon, Levi, and Judah. So Leah gave Jacob, 4 sons. So it's important to notice this stuff, man. It's important to notice. She gave him 4 sons, right?
Right.
So we're basically getting a breakdown here in Genesis of the 12 tribes, basically, of where they started, when they were born, in the order. You gotta remember, Reuben was born first. He was the firstborn. Even though it says the scepter will not depart from Judah, he got that blessing. See that? Where you at?
Genesis chapter 30, verse 1.
Mm-hmm.
And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel, and he said, am I in God's stead, who hath withheld from thee the fruit of thy womb? And she said, behold, my maid, Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, and I may also have children by her. And she gave Bilhah her handmaid to wife, and Jacob went in unto her. And Bilhah conceived, and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan.
Right, so obviously Rachel was barren, but you gotta see why. When you go back to Genesis 29 and 31, it says, and the Lord saw that Leah was hated, and he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. Do you see that? So the Most High was like, well, you're not dealing right, so look, this is what we're going to do. So Rachel couldn't have kids, so she told Jacob to go into the handmaid. What's that?
So is this like a punishment to Jacob from the Most High? Because when Jacob saw Rachel, he fell in love with Rachel, and he should have, I guess, asked Laban about how that was supposed to go. Was that? I mean, why else would he like kind of punish?
Yeah, I mean,
we just don't know.
I mean, it seems like it. I mean, because when you read up, because it said that he loved them both, right? Here we get Rachel, Laban gave Rachel his daughter. See, here it is, verse 30 in Genesis 29 and 30. He says, and he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah. And he served with him yet 7 other years. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, you see that? So he kind of, you see that? It was like he was with Leah. You know, he went in to her, but then it's like he got Rachel, and then he kind of just like, seemed like he was putting Leah to the side. So the Most High was like, you're not dealing right. Here you go. So I guess you could, if you want to call it some type of punishment, or some type of the Most High showing like you got to deal right. You know? You
Con.
see that?
Con.
Verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
Genesis chapter 30, verse 7.
Mm-hmm.
And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again and bare Jacob a second son.
Mm-hmm.
And Rachel said, with great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had enough bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her to Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, a troop cometh. And she called his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher. And Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, give me, I pray thee, of my son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldest thou take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived, and bare Jacob the fifth son. And Leah said, God hath given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again, and bare Jacob the sixth son. And Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived, and bare a son, and said, God had taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, the Lord shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Jacob had born Joseph, that Jacob said unto Laban, send me away, that I may go unto my own place, and to my country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I serve thee, and let me go, for thou knowest thy service which I have done thee. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry, for I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake. And he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, thou knowest how I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me, for it was little which thou hadst before I came, and it is now increased unto a multitude, and the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now when shall I provide for my own house also? And he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all thy flocks today, removing from thence all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle among the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come. When it shall come for my hire before thy face, everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day the he-goats that were ring straight and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hand of his sons. And he said, 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks.
So you see that Jacob basically, he was ready to, he had his wives, he had his sons, so he was ready to go do his own thing. He was ready to go be a man, as far as not being under Laban,
Right.
and not being his servant anymore. You see that when you read up in where's it at? Verse 26, he said, give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go, for thou knowest my service which I have done to thee. So he's saying, look, I've been a good servant. It's time for me to go. See, I did 14 years. And then he had to come back and remind him, like, listen, look at how your flock was before I got there.
Yeah.
Now look at it. It's increased. You see that? So he's basically trying to bargain with him on what he's like, how am I going to feed my family if I just leave? He was like, this is what I want. He was basically negotiating with him on his terms. You see that? And he's basically telling him, he said, whatever is not spotted and speckled, counted as stolen. Counted as stolen with me. Let me take it. You see that? He was being wise. He was using some wisdom. He was like, look, I gotta feed my family too, you know?
Yeah, he said it in verse 30.
Yeah, verse 30.
So it says, for it was little which thou hadst before I came.
Right.
And it is now increased unto a multitude.
Right.
And the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And you see
that? You see how he put the Most High in there? He didn't say, since I came, I did it. No, he said the Most High blessed you when I came. You see that?
And now when shall I provide for my own house?
Yeah, he's like, how am I going to be able to provide for my own house also if you just send me away with nothing, basically?
Yep.
You see that? And then Laban came back like, what am I going to give you? You see that?
Kind.
And that's when he came back and before that face. He basically said, count it stolen. Oh, here it is, verse 33. He said, everyone that is not speckled and spotted among the goats and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. So let me take those. See that? Where are you at?
Genesis chapter 30, verse 36. Mm-hmm. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar and of the hazel and chestnut trees, and piled white straits in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he had piled before the flocks in the gutters and the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rod, and brought forth cattle, ringstraight, speckled, and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks toward the ringstraight, and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feeble were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, and camels, and asses.
So pretty much
what he did, he made them. They didn't really have these spots.
Right.
These things. He
brought them to do that. He was like, listen.
He's Yahweh.
Yeah, Yahweh. Basically, I mean, when you look at it, think about it. Did he not get beguiled?
Yeah.
Right? He had to work 14 years, even though he's only supposed to work 7.
Kind of.
So he had to be wise as a servant.
Return the favor.
Just return the favor, right? That's funny. Then he kept the stronger ones and gave the weaker ones to Laban. He already had a huge flock. You see?
It's true.
Yeah.
Genesis chapter 31, verse 1. And he heard the words of Laban's sons, saying, Jacob had taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's hath he gotten all his glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, and behold, it was not toward him as before. And the Lord said unto Jacob, return unto the land of thy fathers into thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock, and said unto them, I see your father's countenance, that it is not toward me as before, but the power of my father hath been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father, and your father hath deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times, but Yahweh suffered him not to hurt me. If he sent us, the speckle shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckle. And if he said thus, the restraint shall be thy higher than bear all the cattle restraints. Thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. And it came to pass, at the time that the cattle conceived, that I lifted up mine eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring-straight, speckled and grizzled. And the angel of God spake unto me in a dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ring-straight, speckled and bristled. For I have seen all that Laban doeth unto thee. I am the power of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou bowest a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return unto the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said unto him, Is there yet any portion of inheritance for us in our father's house? Are we not counted of him strangers, when he has sold us, and hath quite devoured also our money? For all the riches which God hath taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's, now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. Then Jacob rose up and set his sons and his wives upon camels.
Hold on real quick. Just going off the point, because we read so fast, we passed it. In 31. Go back to 31. You see 31 and 7 down? It was telling us. It says that your father had deceived me and changed my wages 10 times, but God suffered him not to hurt me. If he said thus, the speckle shall be thy wages. You see that? The speckle that's your payment, right? And then all the cattle bear speckle. And if he said thus, the ring straight shall be thy hire. He said, then bear all the cattle ring straight. So he was doing what the Most High said. You see that? He said, thus the Most High had taken away the cattle of your father and given them to me. And it came to pass at that time that the cattle conceived. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw in a dream, and behold, the rams which leaped upon the cattle were ring straight, speckled, and bristled. You see that? So, yeah, it was a repayment, man. It was a repayment for the way Laban was dealing with, it was a repayment for that 14 years, or that extra 7 years. You see that? You can go back to where you were.
Genesis chapter 31, verse 18. And he carried away all his cattle and all his goods which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting, which he had gotten in Padanaram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. Verse 19. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, and that he told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and set his face toward the mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the third day that Jacob was fled. And he took his brethren with him and pursued after him 7 days' journey. And they overtook him in the mount Gilead. And God came to Laban, the Syrian, in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad.
You see that? Most High said, don't even talk to him. You ain't got nothing to say with this man. Leave him alone. Right? Go ahead.
Then Laban overtook Jacob.
Okay, what?
Overtook Jacob.
He didn't even listen. He did not hearken to the Most High. Right? Read on.
Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the mount of Gilead. Laban said to Jacob, What hast thou done, that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters as captives taken with the sword? Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly and still away from me, and didst not tell me that I might have sent thee away with murder, and with sorrows and with tablets, and with heart? And has not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. It is in the power of my hand to do you hurt, but the power of your father spake unto me yesterday night, saying, Take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. And now thou And now though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said, peradventure thou wouldest take by force the daughters from me.
So you say that's why I have to sneak off. To make sure that you wouldn't try to take my take your daughters, take my wives from me. You see that?
But I'm confused.
Mhm.
Is this okay? So after Jacob married Rachel and Leah, he served his time.
Mm-hmm.
They had their children.
Mm-hmm.
He left with the wives, the kids, the stock.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't understand why he's following after him.
Because when you go back to 30 and verse 26, and even when you deal with the law,
Mm-hmm.
Deuteronomy, the law of like the servant.
Yeah.
When you have a servant, that servant is yours. Their kids, that it's all yours. So even when you read verse 30 and 26, Jacob was pleading with him. He was like, "Give me my wives and my children."
Mm-hmm.
Why would he have to ask another man to give him his wives and his children?
Right, but didn't you let him go?
Well,
That's what he took.
they were making those arrangements.
Oh, okay.
You see that? But then, like when you read, where you at? You in 31?
Mm-hmm.
When you read in 31, and where you at again?
I was gonna say, I left off at 30.
Verse 30. And now what does that mean? We found because it's so long. When you go back to where it says he had to sneak off.
In 20.
Verse 20, yeah. And Jacob stole away unawares.
Okay.
You see that? So he was in fear that he wasn't going to keep his word.
So when Jacob worked for Laban and he got his daughters,
Mm-hmm.
he was never. It's not in the custom for him to ever leave. He was supposed to stay there.
Well, I don't think it says that. I don't want to say yeah or no.
But that's why I'm asking.
Right.
Why would he have to sneak off
Let's
if
see.
he wasn't supposed to stay there?
Right, I see what you're saying. Like, was he basically going to work for his life?
Forever,
Right.
ever, and then the wives be there, and the kids grow up there, and all this kind of stuff, and then.
And what was he? He was a Syrian. So we got to see. Yeah, we gotta. I gotta find that out.
I think Laban was
But he just wasn't dealing with him. He said, "What were we gonna say?"
I was gonna say, I think Laban was going off. Because just in the way that he was treating Jacob.
Yeah, he wasn't dealing with him fairly anyway.
And then
So he was just in fear that just because you said I could go after 14 years, you might try to keep me another 7. And then try to put something else on me. Like, it's like this. Okay, work for Rachel for 7 years. Okay, fine. He worked for Rachel, but he gave him Leah.
Right.
Then he said, okay, you work another 7 years, I'll give you Rachel. He gave him Rachel. Then it's like, okay, I'm ready to leave now. Okay, you can leave, but I'm gonna have to keep 2 of your sons. So instead of going through that, he was like, let me just sneak off. Let me just take everything and go.
Okay, I see.
You know, they were negotiating terms of what he could take as far as the cattle and things like that, but he didn't want to risk like having to leave a wife or leave a kid. That's why he was pleading, like, give me my sons and give me my wives and my kids and let me go.
Right.
You see that?
Okay.
So he had a plan. He just needed a way to be able to ensure he could take care of his kids and
Okay.
provide for his household.
So now we're at the point where he fled, and Laban is actually chasing him down.
Yeah, it said
Okay.
Laban. It said Jacob stole away unawares, and Laban the Syrian. So he stole away unawares, and he told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river and set his face towards the Mount Gilead. This is verse 21, 31 and 21.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it was told to Laban on the 3rd day that Jacob was fled.
Okay.
And he took his brethren with him and pursued after him
Okay.
7 days' journey, and they overtook him. You see that? So yeah, he went after him.
Okay.
He went after him.
You know, what Laban had made images. Like in verse 19,
Yeah.
It says that Laban went to share his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father's.
Right.
And then when you go back to verse 30, verse 30, it says, and now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou so longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen
Oh
my
my
gods.
God.
So that's what I was saying, like Laban was going off. Because
Yeah.
he was
But he was Syrian. Yeah, but he was a Syrian anyway.
But
Yeah.
I thought, it was still like his people though. It was still like they from Eber, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's why they were sending them back. That's
Yeah.
why they sent Jacob and Isaac back
Right.
to go back to their kind because they were supposed to keep the ways of the past.
Right, the ways of the past, right.
That's what I'm saying. Like the ball was
He
going
was going
off
off.
because you could see how he dealt with Jacob, and now he had these images, so he was already starting.
Yeah.
And if you notice, like the sons, they never told the 12 tribes to go back to their people.
Right.
They never told the 12 sons to go back and take wives because it's
That.
like,
Yeah, they were going off. Yeah, they were delving into these other gods and things.
so it's like that was like the end of it.
So you see that also?
Time.
Yeah, it's just, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, he said, why did I was what he said, I stole my gods. It's crazy. Go ahead, here we go.
Hey, you think about it too, man. Like to see
You
somebody's
stole my-
mindset. Like, how can you steal somebody's
Like we steal the 12 tribes son. It's like, brother, why'd you steal my God? Wow. Yeah, he was going off, man.
With that too, man, I can see why the Most High like gets pissed at us when we idol worship, because it's like, what the hell, man? Like, this is your power, this is your belief.
Yeah.
Like an image.
Yeah, you give the image, you give it so much reverence, or a golden calf, or you got cats that they're on the whole Star of David thing, like.
Yeah, you're giving this image.
You're giving this image power. You're giving this graven image power, and that's why one of the 10 Commandments. You know what I'm saying? Thou shalt have no other gods before me. You see that? Because that was the problem. That's the problem with our people now. Everything else is more powerful to our people. Everything else has more power to our people than the Most High. Where the Most High should be the ultimate power. But read on. Where you at?
Genesis chapter 31, verse 31. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, because I was afraid, for I said, peradventure thou wouldst take by force thy daughters from me.
Yeah, you see that? He was basically saying, look, you probably wasn't going to be honest with me anyway. You probably going to try to take, I was trying to avoid having the conversation of, let me keep one of the wives. Or work 7 more years to be able to leave, or work 7 more years and I'll give you your sons. He's like, I was afraid you were going to do all that, so I just left. See that?
Time.
Yeah, go ahead.
Verse 32. With whomsoever thou findest thy gods, let him not live. Before our brother discern thou which is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the 2 maidservants' tents, but he found them not. Then went he out of Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images, and put them in the camel's furniture, and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, but found them not. And she said to her father, let it not displease my lord, that I cannot rise up before thee, for the custom of woman is upon me. And he searched, but found not the images. And Jacob was wroth, and chose with Laban. And Jacob answered and said to Laban, what is my trespass? What is my sin? That thou hast so hotly pursued after me, whereas thou hast searched all my stuff. What hast thou found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before me, before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge betwixt us.
Yeah, so Jacob was asking, he's like, man, what's your problem with me? Because Jacob didn't know what was going on.
Right.
He's like, what's the problem? What have I stolen from you?
Right.
What things of your house have I taken? He said, look, take everything, let's put it in front. You got to see what he was doing. He was using the law. If you have a problem with your brother, bring it to your brother. If he don't hear you, you bring it to the witnesses. You see that?
So Jacob didn't know that
No, it said,
Rachel had taken the
Right.
images.
he didn't.
She knew.
She
of
knew.
course,
Right.
and that's why she made that excuse
Oh, I couldn't get up. Yeah, I couldn't get up.
Because she was sitting on it.
Verse
But
30.
Jacob didn't know.
Right, verse 32. Last precept, it said, for Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen them. You see that? And then, yeah, she gave the excuse, I'm in the custody, I can't get up,
Right.
things like that. But yeah, Jacob was using that wisdom. He was like, listen, let's put everything and see what's going on. Let's put everything in front of the witnesses and let's see let's hash it out. You see that?
Hey, I don't know if it's in this chapter, but I can kind of see now why the Most High took Rachel's life right after she bore Benjamin.
Yeah.
Because she took these images.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
maybe she still had the images.
Yeah.
Even then. It wasn't 100% with the Most High.
Yeah. Because, like, why would she steal them? What was her point?
So I was like,
What's the
why
point
was
of
she
stealing?
there? Yeah.
You see that?
So she knew that her father was actually worshiping
Yeah, she
God.
knew that these were his gods. Yeah. But it's like, why would you steal them?
Right, exactly.
What was the point? Let him do him. If you with the Most High, be with the Most High. See that?
Yeah.
Ulterior motives. So,
Verse 38.
Yep.
This 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. That which was torn of beasts I brought not unto thee. I bear the loss of it. Of my hand that is thou required, whether stolen by day or stolen by night.
You see that? He's basically saying, I've been honest with you this whole time. He said, basically, I didn't bring nothing that was killed by animals to you. I took the loss. If it got stolen, you took it off. It came at my loss. It came at my expense. I was always honest with you. You see that?
Yeah.
He was using that law. He had that law. He was using the law. Jacob had the law. You see that? He was using all this wisdom. But it translates when you get to Deuteronomy into the law.
Yeah.
You see that? He just had that. It wasn't written down law. It was that oral tradition. He was going off those traditions that we kept. Go ahead.
Verse 40. Thus I was in the day of the drought consumed. Thus I was in the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from my eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle, and thou hast changed my wages 10 times.
You see that?
Yeah.
That's why he left. That's why he got stolen away, because he said, I served you. He was supposed to serve how many years?
7.
And he ended up 20 years.
20.
Because he kept changing on him.
Right.
He kept changing the terms of the contract. He wasn't being honest. So he was like, listen, even though you dealt with me wrong, I've always dealt with you justly. I've never stolen. I've never, been unjust, lied to you. But you've lied to me. You've changed the contract. You've come up with excuses.
Yeah.
You've done all. It's no different from Esau out there.
You tricked me.
You
with
tricked
the
me,
wife,
with the wife thing.
the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, you used all these things against me to keep me longer than I should have been. I went from 7 to 20. He kept me with an extra what?
Laban had a fine print.
Huh?
Laban had a fine print.
Yeah, he was using that. He was devil with the details kind of thing.
Yep.
You see that? But he was dealing with him unjustly. And so Jacob is pointing it out here, like, look, you've been dealing with me unjust. I haven't done anything to you. But just take what you gave me and work right through it. You see that? And this goes along with the last couple of classes that we've been going through, just dealing with the hand that you've been dealt, dealing with the persecution, the misuse, the despitefully being used, just taking it, sucking it up, fighting through it. What's that?
And then also, like you just mentioned, the classes, the Most High also deals in a balance too. So there's this balance between the good and the evil, the right and the wrong, and us, like you said, suffering wrongfully,
I
having your back,
right,
all that.
Did not the Most High come to Laban like, listen, man, leave me alone. Like, you already dealt with him unjust.
Right.
But Laban ain't listening because he's going off anyway.
Right.
Think about it. The Most High came to him. He goes to Rachel like, you stole my gods. So he ain't dealing with the Most High. That's why he didn't listen.
Yep.
You see that?
Yep.
But the Most High was always fighting for Jacob.
Right.
He was always with him. He was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to see what your humility is. I'm going to see what your long suffering is. He had to long suffer. He had to be, all these things that we've been going through lately in class, the shame.
Right.
It's like, damn, he knows this dude tricked him.
Right.
deal with it. You got everybody else looking like, hey, this nigga played you.
Right, and his wickedness, Laban's wickedness is coming out.
Coming out, yeah.
Because of Jacob's trust and faith.
There it is, in the Most High. The Most High is bringing it out. He's letting it be known. But that's the thing. Imagine if Jacob would have just gave up in the first year.
Right.
20 years.
Right.
This is a dope. I mean, when you really look at this story, it's dope because 20 years of his life. You know, I was watching, you ever watch that movie, The Hurricane? Denzel Washington? Think about it. He sat in jail wrongfully for 20 years.
Right.
20 years. And he fought the case for 19 years. You see that? So, what if he would have gave up in the first year? He would have never got out. He'd have spent his life, he would have been in jail right now. He would have probably died in jail. He'd be in jail right now. Because that happened in the 70s, 60s and 70s. You see that? So he got out in like the 80s, and then he got out like in 88, 1985. He got out in 85. He got out in 85, so he went to jail in 65. Think about that. But he fought for 19 years to get his freedom. But what if he would have just said, I'm good. I don't feel like fighting no more after the first year. Or never even had the spirit to fight. Or go through what he was going through. He would have never got out. So, I mean, the story shows you about the long suffering that we're supposed to have. Because you just never know when the Most High is going to do what he promised. It's showing you it's not on our time frame. It's not on our time, it's on the Most High's time. We got to wait on the Lord. And that's what people don't want to do. They don't want to wait on the Most High. They just want things done. You think because you turn around to the east, pray, that it's supposed to happen instantly. Nah. What are you doing to show the Most High that you're faithful? Because Jacob worked 20 years. He had to work for 2 wives and a cattle.
So I have a question. In 41, it says, he said, thus I've been 20 years in thy house.
Right.
And I served 14 years for thy 2 daughters,
right.
6 years for thy cattle.
Uh-huh.
So was it? So the 14 and the 6 is 20. Oh.
Yeah. So you see that? That's why he had to steal away. That's why he left, because he was like, wait a minute, you changed the deal twice. You changed the deal twice on me, as far as the terms of our agreement. So I'm not going to wait around and sit for you to change the deal again. I'm out. I got my cattle. Jacob was doing it smart, though, because either way, he knew, okay, once I do get a chance to get away, I got to have some way to provide. So he was like, okay, well, I can't just take the cattle. I'm not just going to steal it. So, okay, he wants me to work for it. I'm going to work for it. He got it. So when he had his family, his cattle, way to provide, he was like, okay, I'm out. I'm not going to wait around for you to have to give up a kid, give up a wife, to work another 20. He was using the wisdom. He was using wisdom. He was using the law.
Right.
You see that? But where you at? 41?
Verse 42.
Yeah, read that.
Genesis chapter 31, verse 42. Except the power of my father, the power of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac have been with me.
You see that? Except the Most High have been with me. Read.
Surely thou hast sent me away now empty.
Right, because the Most High was guiding Jacob on how to deal. He was showing him when you go back to 31 and Genesis 31 and 6. He was showing him what to do with the cattle. You see that? The spotted and the when he talks about the spotted cattle,
The speckled.
and the speckled and the ring straight, the Most High told him what to do.
Yep.
How to deal. He was like, if it wasn't for the Most High, he would have sent me away with nothing.
Right.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
It's crazy, man. You would have sent me away empty. Uh-huh.
And God has seen my affliction.
He has seen what?
Seen my affliction.
See that? I know thy tribulation and thy poverty, but thou art rich.
Yep.
Most High seen his affliction. He seen what he was going through. And that's what we forget. The Most High said he's not unjust to forget your labor and love. He ain't gonna forget the things that we've been going through.
Right.
You might forget with that old short-term memory, that old retarded memory, that'll remember what you want, when you want. What do they call it when you selective memory? Yeah. You got short-term selective memory. The Most High don't forget. And that's what we got to realize. The Most High is not going to forget your labor and love. He's not going to just let the unjust go unpunished. He's not just going to let you work for righteousness' sake and not be repaid. You just got to learn how to be patient. We just have to learn how to long suffer. Wait a little while. Go through it. Absorb it. Take it on. Embrace it. Then it gets a little bit easier. It's not as rough. Don't kick against the pricks. Don't fight it. Don't fight it, dog. Just let it happen. You see what I'm saying? It's going to happen. But that's the thing. This story right here is dope, man. It's dope because it really shows the character of Jacob. It shows his faith. It shows his patience. 20 years of your life? Come on, man. And it's not like he was doing 20 years living it up. He was being 20 years of serving another man's house. You see that?
Laban was pretty much going to use him as a slave.
Yeah, he was going to try to keep him for his whole entire life. Yeah. And then have the kids and the wives. He was about to have a whole ringling of slaves. He was about to have a whole family of slaves. You see that? Because he wasn't dealing right. But that's the one thing. We forget that because a man ain't dealing right, Most High works out everything. The Most High controls everything. The Most High controls it all. So we got to always remember that. Somebody might be dealing wrong in your life. So let the Most High work it out. You ain't got to take no action on this person. You just got to, just continue to be your righteousness. It'll heap coals of fire on your head. What's that?
Another thing too, with you saying that, back up in 31, Jacob took Rachel and Leah when they were meeting, and he told them, "Your father has deceived me." So
31 and what?
31. What is that? 3.
Yeah, he said, and the Lord said unto Jacob. Yeah. Verse 5.
And
4. And Jacob sent and called Rachel and Leah to the field unto his flock. And he said unto them, I see your father's countenance. You see that?
Yep.
I can see the deceit in his eyes. I can see that he's dealing with me unjust. But why? He was serving them images.
Yep.
Right.
But
He
that,
wrong.
but that was an opportunity for Rachel to also confess what she had done as well and taken those images. Then Jacob would have known why Laban was hunting them down.
Right.
So she was a little deceitful person too.
Yeah. You see that?
Right.
Jump back to where you are. So, that's why it's important, like, even when we read these stories, man, read them slow, digest it. Because if you read it fast, a lot of times we miss, like, important things. Like, why did this happen? You got to go back. And it's always good to go back, read it over, read it twice, read it 3 times so we can get the story and get it down. Because these stories are important, man, because, Genesis, this is the beginning of the Bible. But even in the beginning, it's showing you how a man had to long suffer, have patience, have humility, go through the fight, go through the affliction. The Most High said, I see your affliction. He says, through much affliction you shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. So it ain't nothing new. You see that? It ain't nothing new that we got to go through it a little bit. Because look at Jacob in the beginning, he went through it. You see that? So for all y'all out there that think this is going to be this easy road to salvation, no. Look at the stories of the past. Look at your forefathers of the past. Look what they had to deal with.
And then too, you can also see how that spirit is perpetuated, like that deceitful spirit, that lying spirit, it's.
But they do it to us now.
Exactly.
It's like, they're like out of nowhere, what they have, like at-will employment, things like that. I can fire you at any time. I can I can cut your position at any time, change your wages. They never change it to go up. They always change it to go down. Or if it's time for a raise, you sign up for the job and it says, you get like a 10% raise. It's time for your raise. They're like, we have to lower the 10% to 3 because we didn't make enough money this year. Yeah. What about the contract that I signed in the beginning? Yeah. We, in the fine print, we said we could change that contract at any time. Didn't you read that? No, you printed it so small, I had to have a bionic eye to read it.
Right.
You see that? The devil's in the details. So yeah, they deal with us like this now. But a lot of us think because we got a little job, 10 miles an hour, 15 miles an hour, whatever, that we live in, that they're doing something for us, and they're not. Since even when they do good, they do wicked. So we gotta be aware. We gotta be aware. There's nothing new under the sun, man. There's nothing new. The way they dealt then is the way they deal with us now. And you know, it don't take a super spiritual mind to see it. You just gotta read the stories of the old. That's why, and this is why the Old Testament is so important. Because this is giving you the blueprint of the things that were gonna come. You see that? Well, let's jump back. Where you at?
Verse 22. Little precept. God has seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked me yesterday. Verse 43. Genesis chapter 31, verse 43. And Laban answered and said unto Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children.
You see that? He said, these are my daughters, and the children are mine. He was in that slave master mentality. Like, this is my property. Right? Go ahead.
And these cattle are my cattle.
So he was off. Jacob worked for all this, but he's still thinking, counting it as his. He wasn't being just. He's like, this is my stuff. It's like, bro, I worked for this. Go ahead.
And all that thou seest is mine.
Damn.
And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have born? Now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant. I and thou. Let it be for a witness between me and thee. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, gather stones, and they took stones, and made a heap. And they did eat there upon the heap. And Laban called it Jagar Sahat Dutha. But Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, this heap was a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead. And Mizpah, for he said, the Lord watch between me and thee, when we are absent one from another. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives beside my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness betwixt me and thee. And Laban said to Jacob, behold this heap, and behold this pillar, which I have cast betwixt me and thee. This heap be witness, and this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. The power of Abraham and the power of Nahor, the power of their father, judge betwixt us. And Jacob swore by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, and called his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread, and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning, Laban rose up, and kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed, and returned unto his place. Genesis chapter 32, verse 1. And Jacob went on his way, and the angels of God met him. And when Jacob saw them, he said, this is God's house. And he called the name of
this is God's host.
Oh, Slot, this is God's host. And he called the name of that place Mahanaim. And Jacob sent messengers before him to Esau his brother unto the land of Seir, the country of Edom. That's the end of one.
Where'd you read to?
32? This one, 30.
Damn. So I jumped. Wow. That's it?
So question.
Mm-hmm.
So they parted ways on good terms.
Basically,
that's
what it's about. He said, listen, verse 32, or verse 52, Genesis 31 and 52. Should this heap be witness, and this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over the heap to thee, and I will not pass, and thou shall not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. So yeah, we ain't gonna fight, you ain't gonna kill me, you ain't gonna do anything. Because he was basically, when you look at it, when you go to verse 43, he said, and Laban answered and said unto Jacob, these daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle. and all that thou seest is mine, and what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children? He's like, what am I going to do to them? If I'm going to do any harm, it's going to be unto you. I ain't going to hurt my daughters and their children. But then that's why he came back and was like, listen, let's make a covenant. That you ain't going to harm me, I ain't going to come over to you. You go your way, I'm going to go my way. And the Most High is going to be a witness. You see that? So where we at? Hosea 12?
Yeah.
Alright, so we jumping from Genesis to Hosea chapter 12 and verse 13. 12 to 14 and 10?
Yep.
Hosea. Yeah, that story is a good story, man. It shows the attributes that even Jacob had, that, you know, a lot of us we got to work on. But it all started with his faith in the Most High. That's where it began, is that like he said, if the Most High wasn't with me, why would the Most High be not with him? He was a righteous man. What made him righteous? The law. You see, keeping the traditions of old. You see that? All right, so we have Hosea chapter 12 and verse 13. And by a prophet the Lord brought Israel out of Egypt, and by a prophet was he preserved. And Ephraim provoked him to anger most bitterly. Therefore shall he move his blood upon him, and his reproach shall his Lord return unto him. Chapter 13. When Ephraim spake trembling, he exalted himself in Israel, but when he offended in Baal, he died. And now they sin more and more, and have made them molten images of their silver, and idols according to their own understanding. All of it, the work of the craftsman. They say of them, let the men that sacrifice kiss the calves. Therefore they shall be as the morning cloud, and as the early dew that passeth away, as the chaff that is driven with the whirlwind out of the floor, and as the smoke out of the chimney. Yet I am the Lord thy power from the land of Egypt, and thou shalt know no God but me, for there is no Savior besides me. I did know thee in the wilderness, in the land of the great drought, according to their pasture. So were they filled. They were filled, and their heart was exalted. Therefore have they forgotten me. Therefore I will be unto them as a lion. As a leopard by the way will I observe them. I will meet them as a bear that is bereaved for her whelps. Damn, Mosiah is cold. You ever see a leopard when it hunts? He said, as a leopard by the way I will observe them. A leopard, when it hunts, if you ever watch like the Big Cats diaries, a leopard, it'll stalk its prey.
For 2 miles.
Yeah, for up to 2 miles.
Yeah.
It'll stalk them, just watch him. Just watch, you'll never know he's there for 2 miles. Just silence. Yeah. You see that? He said, I will meet them as a bear that is bereaved for her whelps. A bear is a ferocious animal. But you come next to a bear when it got some baby cubs, it's probably the most ferocious animal you'll encounter. That thing will chase you for miles and miles and chase you off from anywhere near the cubs until it kills you or you outrun it, which you'll rarely outrun a bear. Yeah, they run. They run, I think, up to 30 miles an hour or something crazy. We don't even do 20 miles an hour. There was a woman that she did what, 26 miles an hour on a treadmill.
Yeah.
She only did it for seconds. You see that?
The fastest we'll go, yeah.
Yeah, she did like 26 miles an hour on a treadmill for like 5 seconds and then hopped off. So think about it, you cannot run a bear, especially a bear that's pissed off for its cubs, defending its cubs. That's how the Most High said He will deal with Ephraim. And I will ring the call of their heart, and there I will devour them like a lion. The wild beast shall tear them. O Israel, thou hast destroyed thyself, but in me is thine help. You see that? So the Most High has shown us how we get back. We got to rely on Him. You see that? I will be thy king. Where is any other that may save thee in all thy sins? That's a question. Who's going to save us? Goes back to Deuteronomy 28:68, and no man shall save you. So the Most High is letting us know, man. Y'all sitting there waiting on T.D. Jakes and Joel Osteen, Oprah, Will Smith. They ain't going to save us. The Most High is going to save us. The richest man in your city can't save you. We got to come back to the Most High to be saved. And like judges of whom thou saidest, give me a king and princes. Y'all sitting there voting for Trump, thinking Trump is going to do something for the black and brown people. Trump ain't going to be your savior. Y'all voted for Trump like he was going to make a change. Y'all voted for Obama like he was going to change something. The only thing Obama gave you was homosexuality. That's what you got from Obama. Was the ability to now legally sleep with animals.
Yeah.
You see that? That's what Obama gave the black and Hispanics. Homosexuality and bestiality. Nothing changed for y'all. And if it did, show me. Y'all talking about my president is black. So what? What has he done? The Most High is telling you.
If anything, it got worse.
If anything, yeah, it got worse. He gave you worse conditions. You see that? Verse 11. I give thee a king in my anger, and took him away in my wrath. The iniquity of Ephraim is bound up, his sin is hid. The sorrows of a travailing woman shall come upon him. He is an unwise son. Wow, you see that? For he shall not stay long in the place of his breaking forth of children. I will ransom them from the power of the grave. I will redeem them from death. O death, I will be thy plagues. O grave, I will be thy destruction. Repentance shall be hid from mine eyes. Though he be fruitful among his brethren, an east wind shall come. The wind of the Lord shall come up from the wilderness, and his spring shall become dry. His fountain shall be dried up. He shall spoil the treasure of all pleasant vessels. Samaria shall become desolate, for she hath rebelled against her God. They shall fall by the sword. Her infants shall be dashed to pieces, and their women with child shall be ripped out. Did that not happen? Did that not happen?
Especially
that happened to what was it? The Spanish conquests. The conquistadors, yeah, where they strung them up and cut them babies out the wombs, stomped on them, dashed them against the rocks, against trees. Think about it. That happened. That happened. Most High said it would happen, and it happened.
Please dash our kids against the stone.
Right. But when it said, they shall fall by the sword, their infants shall be dashed in pieces, and their women with child shall be ripped out. They were doing that. They were stringing these women up and cutting. They did it to Judah also during slavery, cutting infants out of the womb. But yeah, I mean, if y'all think it's a comic book, if y'all think it's just a bunch of words, nah, this happened. This happened. You see that? Verse chapter 14. Go to 14 and verse 10. Chapter 14. O Israel, return unto the Lord thy God, for thou hast fallen by thine iniquity. Take with you words and turn to the Lord. Say unto him, take away all iniquity and receive us graciously, so we will render the calves for our lips. Ashur shall not save us. We will not ride upon horses, neither will we say any more to the work of our hands, ye are our gods, for in thee the fatherless findeth mercy. Where we at? Verse 3.
Oh, verse 4.
I will heal their backsliding. I will love them freely, for my anger is turned away from him. I will be as the dew unto Israel. He shall grow as the lily, and cast forth his roots as Lebanon. Like that was like what David was talking about. I want to like spring forth like the trees in Lebanon. Yeah. So his branches shall spread, and his beauty shall be as the olive tree, and his smell as Lebanon. They that dwell under his shadow shall return. They shall revive as the corn and grow as the vine. The scent thereof shall be as the wine of Lebanon. Ephraim shall say, what have I to do any more with idols? I have heard him and observed him. I am like a green fir tree. For me is thy fruit found. Who is wise, and he shall understand these things? Prudent, and he shall know them. For the ways of the Most High are right, and the just shall walk in them, but the transgressors shall fall therein.
So that was Hosea. John 1, verse 19 to 51.
This is Hosea 14 and 10.
Yeah, there wasn't a 14 and 10.
Yeah, it's weird. Okay.
So now we jump to St. John chapter
1 and verse 19. Man, there wasn't a lot of reading in this one, huh?
19 through 51. It actually wasn't.
Yeah, some of them are shorter than others. St. John chapter 1 and verse 19. Hey, do we have any questions on me? No? Okay. Just making sure. St. John 1 and verse 19. And this is the record of John when the Jews sent priests and Levites from Jerusalem to ask him, who art thou? And he confessed and denied not, but confessed, I am not the Christ. And they asked him, what then? Art thou Elias? And he said, I am not. Art thou that prophet? And he answered, no. Then said they unto him, who art thou? That we may give an answer to them that sent us. Why sayest thou of that? What sayest thou of thyself? And he said, I am the voice of one crying in the wilderness. Make straight the way of the Lord, as said the prophet Esaias. And they which were sent were of the Pharisees. And they asked him and said unto him, why baptizest thou then, if thou be not the Christ, nor Elias, neither that prophet? John answered them, saying, I baptize with water, but there standeth one among you, whom ye know not. He it is who coming after me is preferred before me, whose shoes latchet I am not worthy to unloose. So John, this is showing you John, he was humbling himself to Christ. He was knowing that he had a job to do, but he knew Christ had a bigger job. That the one that was coming, Christ, he wasn't even worthy to walk in his shoes. You see that? He wasn't able to unloose the shoes.
Yeah.
You see that? He wasn't able to touch. That's crazy. You know they say you can walk in all of my shoes. It's like, man, John was like, I can't even untie his shoestrings. You know what I'm saying? He's greater than me. He's preferred before me. He's the chosen. Verse 28. These things were done in Bethlehem, in Beth Arab, beyond Jordan, where John was baptizing. The next day, John seeth Yahushua coming unto him and said, behold, the Lamb of God, which taketh away the sin of the world. So John knew who Yahushua was. He knew he was sent by the Most High. He knew what his position and what his mission was. Verse 30. This is he of whom I said, after me cometh a man which is preferred before me, for he was before me. You see that? Think about that. He said he was before me. The beginning of all creatures. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God. You see that?
Yeah.
Verse 31. And I knew him not. If he knew him not, how do you know he was before him? You see that?
Right.
But that he should be made manifest to Israel, therefore I am come baptizing with water. And John gave record saying, I saw the Spirit descending from heaven like a dove, and it abode upon him. And I knew him not, but he sent me to baptize with water. And the same said unto me, upon whom thou shalt see the Spirit descending and remaining on him, the same is he which baptized with the Holy Spirit. Christ never baptized with water. See that? And then you can link this verse 32 down with Isaiah 11 and verse 1. 11 and 1 to 5, I believe. Yeah, 11 and 1 to 5. Verse 34. And I saw and bear record that this is the Son of God. Again, the next day after John stood, two of his disciples, and looking upon Yahushua as he walked, he said, Behold, the Lamb of God. And the two disciples heard him speak, and they followed Yahushua. And Yahushua turned and saw them following, and he said unto them, What seek ye? He's like, man, what y'all doing? What's going on? What y'all following me for? Then said unto him, Rabbi, which is to say, being interpreted, Master, where dwellest thou? Verse 31, he said unto them, Come and see. They came and saw where he dwelt, and abode with him that day, for it was about the 10th hour. One of the two which heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. And he first findeth his own brother Simon, and said unto him, We have found the Messiah, which is, being interpreted, the Christ, Hamashiach, Yahushua. And he brought him to Jesus. And when Jesus beheld him, he said, Thou art Simon, the son of Jonah. Thou shalt be called Cephas, which is by interpretation a stone. The day following Yahushua would go forth into Galilee, and findeth Philip, and saith unto him, Follow me. Now Philip was of Bethsaida, the city of Andrew and Peter. Philip findeth Nathanael, and saith unto him, We have found him, of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. You see that? That's crazy. He's in verse 40, I'm going to read that again. Philip founded Nathanael and said unto him, We have found him, of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write. So for those that say that Christ is not in the Old Testament, Moses wrote about him. The prophets wrote about him. Ezra, you see that? Wrote about Christ a few times. But that's what people fail to realize, is that it was all about Christ. It was all written about Christ. Christ was that pillar.
Right.
In the wilderness. That light by day, what was it, the light by day? And the light by night, and the cloud by day. Who do you think that was? Christ.
And also, this dispels that immaculate conception thing, because it says not only was he written about by the prophets and spoken of, but also it says Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph.
There it is. Yeah, the son of Joseph. Yeah. So it's showing you there. I mean, that's why it's important. I always say it's important to read slow, and that's why these Sabbath readings are beautiful, man. Because then you get to hit scriptures that you wouldn't always hit. You get to take it slow, digest it, and see different points. You see that? But yeah, Moses wrote about Christ, the prophets, David. When he said, "The Lord of my Lord said, Thou sit at my right hand." What was he talking about? The Lord of his Lord? David was the king. Who was his Lord? There was nobody over the king. The king doesn't have a Lord. But David was talking about Christ. You see that? And this is telling you that Moses and the prophets wrote about Christ. Where did they write about him? In the Old Testament. So Philip founded Nathanael and said unto him, We have found him, of whom Moses in the law and the prophets did write, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph. And Nathanael said unto him, Can there any good thing come out of Nazareth? Philip saith unto him, Come and see. Jesus saw Nathanael coming to him and said of him, Behold, an Israelite indeed, and who is no God. Nathanael saith unto him, Whence knowest thou me? He's like, how do you know me? Yahushua answered and said unto him, Before that Philip called thee, when thou wast under a fig tree, I saw thee. Nathanael answered and said unto him, Rabbi, thou art the Son of God, thou art the King of Israel. Yahushua answered and said unto him, Because I said unto thee, I saw thee under a fig tree, believest thou? Thou shalt see greater things than these. And he saith unto him, Verily, verily, I say unto you, hereafter ye shall see heaven open, and the angel of the Most High ascending and descending upon the Son of Man. That's that?
Is that verse 50? That's verse 51, right? That's it?
All right, so that's the end of the reading. That was a short reading. It wasn't a lot. But that concludes the reading. If y'all got any questions, wow, kind of breeze through that. If y'all got any questions, feel free. The floor is open.
It was yours.
Yeah, that story. You know, it's funny because it's crazy. I read that story so many times with Jacob. I read that with Joseph. Excuse me. No, it was Jacob. Yeah, I read that story a lot, man, and it never gets old. But it does put a different perspective when you just take the time to read it a little bit slower, let it digest. What was that? John chapter 1:44. That's a cold verse. You got anything?
No.
All right, let's give them a little time to catch up. Give me 1 sec.
A little time just to see. Something might come to the brain. How many do y'all want?
Shown 6.
6. Friday? Not the end. Not the end of it. So, I'll close it up.
All right, brothers and sisters, well, since there's no questions online and no questions in here, that's going to conclude the Sabbath ceremony, or that's going to conclude the broadcast. Like I said, we do the actual Sabbath ceremony with all the prayers, but you got to be in class for that. So if you're available, come to class. That way you can get these prayers in, you can see what we do. We can get back to our customs of how we do things. So yeah, that's going to conclude the broadcast. If y'all have any questions, definitely hit us up. And tune in. We got the cable show. We got that back going. Houston Media Source on Tuesdays. We go live 8:30 to 9:30. All right? Was that channel 17 Comcast?
I believe so.
Yeah. So check that out. And then, as y'all know, we got class Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Monday and Wednesday, 7 to 10 p.m. Friday, 6 to 9. Saturday, Sabbath, 10 to 2, 10 to whenever. Kids class, we throw those up on the YouTube, we record them, and then we put them on the YouTube. But if you got kids, bring them through so they can learn. That's 11 here at the school from 11 to 12. 11 a.m. to 12 p.m. every Sunday. We got Hanukkah coming up December 24th to January 1st. So, if you want to join with us, if you want to celebrate with us, you want to keep the holiday, hit us up. Passover is going to be coming up in like 4 months. If you want a garment made, a custom-made garment, if you want to be in unity with us, hit us up so we can get the sisters on it. Because like I said, when after January, they're going to be busy getting the location, making preparations for the Passover. So if you want a garment, let us know from now. That way we can get that set up for you. If you're in San Antonio area, we have a school out there, 4219 Centergate Street, San Antonio, Texas, 78217. We also have a school in Albuquerque, New Mexico, at 501 Copper Ave, Northwest Albuquerque, New Mexico, 87102. So if you have any questions, hit us up, all right? So with that, we're going to conclude class. Shalom. Knocking out the rest of these. Yeah, that reading was short. Did we breeze through it, or we didn't really breeze through it, did we?
It was a short read.
How many scriptures was it?
It was actually 207 scriptures.
Yeah, usually it's like 208, but usually it's like 280.
It's been short lately, because lately, like the last 2 weeks, it's been 160.
Oh, okay. So what time did y'all end last week?
We didn't do last week. Oh, it was just me and Ariana. Yeah, we had pretty early too.
Oh, okay. What y'all do last week?
Oh, we moved.
Oh, yeah.
We had it around this time.
I was like, what's the weather looking like? I'm like, bro, cold and disgusting. He didn't say that, but I'm like, ew.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to, we can. You like hit like